Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. They're a modern Stone Age family. But what if I don't want to meet the Flintstones? What if I want to get to know the Flintstones? Well, today marks the end of a very long journey to try and do exactly that. Very recently, I picked up a new hobby in card collecting. So one day, while scrolling eBay looking for any cheap card packs, I found a case of 72 packs of unopened cards from the Flintstones movie, which was huge news to me because one, that's a lot of packs, and two, I kind of remember liking that movie. But there was an issue. You see, if I order 72 packs of cards, I'm gonna want to open 72 packs of cards. And after I open all 72 packs, there will be none left to open. And opening them is the best part. So, as an exercise in patience, and in an effort to get the most out of this purchase, I decided to limit myself to only one pack of cards per day. And to hold myself accountable, I decided to film myself opening these packs and posting those videos on the probably dead by the time you're watching this social media platform Twitter. Here's how that went. Now, I had never embarked on a 72-day journey before, so I was just excited to get started. I had no idea what any of these cards looked like or really what I was in store for. I should probably mention that each pack of cards comes with a stick of bubble gum. Yum yum, 30-year-old gum. On day 2, I couldn't wait to get new cards. Unfortunately, I would have to, because 4 of the 5 cards were just repeats of what I got the day before. I couldn't believe the immediate bad luck that I was getting, so I was hoping that this wasn't a sign of things to come. Thankfully, the variety did pick up after that, and I was able to see some more cards, including some that I could only describe as being kind of horny. On day 8, I pulled what quickly became my favorite in the set, the Best Buddy Barney card. Look at him. It looks like he's just working up the courage to talk to you about Brockhampton, and he's almost there. On day 10, I got the Solo Fred Flintstone card. On day 12, I found out that the B-52s were in this movie. And after 2 weeks, I had acquired 53 of the 88 cards in the base set. But that's not enough. You see, on the back of each of these packs is a message that there are 2 randomly inserted foil cards per every 36 packs. I became obsessed with the idea of getting these foil cards. I kept opening packs hoping there would be some shiny treasure waiting for me, and it wasn't all the way until day 21 that it finally happened. Yes, 21 days into my journey, I finally got a foil card, after I had already opened 100 cards in the set. But the juice was worth the squeeze, because I unveiled Dino, Pebble's Purple Pal. I was so happy. So happy, in fact, that I, a grown man, started a TikTok, because I knew that people would want to see this. They didn't really care about it, but it was still fun posting to a different platform. But hang on, I thought the rule was 2 foil cards per 36 packs. How come I just had 1? If it was just 1 foil card in a pack, why wouldn't you just say 1 foil card per 18 packs? Right? It's just simplifying fractions. This isn't a new concept to us. You see, I was annoyed by this, so I did a little bit of research. And while I don't know exactly what kind of math fractions are, algebra as a concept came around 2000 BC. The Flintstones takes place a full 8,000 years earlier. So this mathematical annoyance might just be a historical accuracy, and I'm gonna have to let it go. Anyways, I was riding that Dino high for a while. Day 27 brought me the Smarter Than Your Average Bird card, which is notable in that it's a direct reference to another Hanna-Barbera property, Yogi Bear. Could this discovery be enough to confirm that the patrons of Jellystone Park are descendants of the people of Bedrock? Could this confirm that George Jetson is a direct descendant of Fred Flintstone? How do Jabberjaw or Hong Kong Phooey fit into this? I feel like I'm close to cracking something, but that's not why I'm here. It took me 10 days to find my second foil card, Wilma, and the hits just kept coming after that. With a total of 8 new cards in my next 2 packs, I was riding this good fortune straight into halftime. After day 36, I had opened 83 of the 88 base cards, as well as 2 of the 4 foil cards, which I am keeping in this Flintstones lunchbox. I've also opened 36 packs of rock hard odorless gum, which I'm keeping in this thermos. At this point, I also started an Instagram account so I can join Threads, which I hate. So in addition to all of these cards, I've now joined 3 social media platforms. Cool. But while all this progress was fun for me to track, there was a problem. You see, if I only had 5 cards left to find, and 36 packs to find them in, the time between new cards was going to get farther and farther apart. I felt like a prospector at the tail end of a gold rush, but I had to keep digging. Unfortunately, the next time I struck gold, it would be fool's gold. On day 40, I pulled my 3rd foil card, but it was my 2nd Dino. I got double Dino'd. And with there being 4 foil cards in the set, and the potential of only 4 foil cards per 72 packs, my dream of completing this entire set was toast. My only remaining hope was that someone at the Topps Trading Card Factory slipped an extra couple of foil cards into the case, hoping they'd find their way to someone who deserved them. And I've been such a good boy this year. After coming to terms with my failure, it was a slow trickle from here. I went over 10 days without seeing anything new, and it was hard to remember why I was doing this in the first place. I was hoping that these cards would provide me with some kind of meaning, or that the Flintstones would welcome me into their Stone Age family. But so far, all I found was heartbreak. And then I realized that this wasn't uncommon. In fact, I felt connected to many of history's greatest explorers, who had set out in search of one thing before ultimately finding something even greater. Like Juan Ponce de Leon and his quest for the Fountain of Youth, or Christopher Columbus sailing to the edge of the earth. I was going to let the journey be my guide, open to anything it was willing to show me. What's that? None of that's true? Those are just myths, and they weren't wasting their time on meaningless quests? And I'm nothing like Juan Ponce de Leon? So I was blazing my own trail. At the halfway mark, I had 5 cards left to find, and I found that last one on day 57, which was good news because I was struggling. And now that I had the full base set, that means I can do the one thing I wanted to do since I started on this journey. I could finally rewatch the movie. That's right, after 57 days dedicated to it, I still hadn't taken the time to see the movie. I had been avoiding it because I didn't want to spoil anything that would come up in the cards. Now, I had seen the movie before, but I don't remember too much about it other than I kind of liked it, and the sets and props and costumes are all caveman-y. I remember it being fun, but would it still be fun? Could it still be fun after 57 days of Flintstones? Yes, actually, yeah, it was still pretty fun. If you've never seen the movie before, allow me to give you a recap. The movie opens with some A-plus goofs. Universal is Universal, and Steven Spielberg, who produced the movie, is Steven Spielrock. So if you want to create your own Flintstones name, and your name ends in Berg, just replace that with Rock. There, your very own Flintstones name. It really is that easy. And who could forget that classic WWE Backlash 2003 main event, Gold Rock versus the Berg. Anyways, Fred Flintstone and his best friend Barney Rubble work together at the stone quarry. Barney thanks Fred for loaning him money so that Barney and his wife Betty can adopt their son, Bam Bam. Fred tells Barney not to tell Wilma, Fred's wife, about the money, and the two of them sing the hot hit of the summer, The Bedrock Twitch by the BC-52s. Now, this part isn't really related to the cards, but I just wanted to point it out that despite having one of the most iconic vehicles in the history of animated entertainment, the main mode of transportation in Bedrock appears to be recumbent bicycles. When Fred gets home, he immediately tells Wilma about the money that he lent the Rubbles, and she's actually pretty cool with it. After all, the Rubbles are her friends too. Kinda weird not to include your wife in your good deed, but whatever. Back at the quarry. Back at work, Fred's boss, Cliff, is looking for a fall guy. The plan is to give the workers an aptitude test, and whoever has the best score will get promoted to an executive position. The newly promoted worker will be set up and pinned with embezzlement, while Cliff and his partner, Miss Stone, escape with the money. Now Barney gets a peek at Fred's test and realizes that his friend is as dumb as the rocks they work with. So seeing it as an opportunity to pay Fred back for his generosity, he switches their tests when he turns them in. And wouldn't you know it, Fred has the highest score. He gets a new job, a new office, his own personal secretary, and a dictabird, which is like a tape recorder voicemail thing. Fred's first assignment? Firing the worker with the lowest score, who just so happens to be his best buddy Barney. Cliff and Miss Stone are hard at work executing their scheme, all while keeping Fred blind with money and perks. Barney is stuck working odd jobs just trying to land back on his feet. Fred wants to celebrate/show off his success by treating the Rubbles to a fancy dinner and an electric performance by the BC-52s. But Barney can't make it because he's working as a busboy in that very restaurant. Barney comes clean that he is the reason for all of Fred's fortune and the friendship is over. Fred's troubles get worse, however, when the forms that he had signed thinking he was giving vacation time to all the quarry workers turned out to be their termination papers. And since he signed off on it, he gets all the credit. So now there's an angry mob after him and he can't show his face anywhere. And getting sick of his greed, Wilma walks out too. Fred uncovers Cliff's plot to set him up and steal the money. And Cliff's like, yeah, duh, that's my plan, I'm the bad guy, you got me. But I have all this evidence that says that you did it, so too late, bozo, bye. Cliff calls the police to arrest Fred. Fred is a fugitive, and his plan to go undercover and try to save his reputation blows up as he's discovered. Seeking justice, the workers are planning to hang Fred, when who shows up but Barney, working his new job as a snow cone salesman. The mob, realizing Barney is, or at least was, friends with Fred, decide to hang him too. And that's the end of the movie. Just kidding. Fred and Barney are able to escape with the help of Betty and Wilma, who has taken the dictabird and used its recording of Cliff admitting to framing Fred to get the mob to let them go. They return home and find that their children have been kidnapped. Cliff proposes a deal. You can have your kids, but I want that bird. A fair trade. But when they bring Cliff the bird, he double-crosses them again and sends the children to be slaughtered by his big machine. And just in case you weren't sure if he was the bad guy or not, Cliff also breaks his promise to Miss Stone and keeps all the money for himself. So Fred and Barney rush to save the kids, and Fred launches a boulder to destroy the machines. The dictabird bites Cliff and escapes, and the malfunctioning machinery redirects its attention towards Cliff, covering him in a mess of rocky sludge. Mr. Slate, the big boss, decides to name this new substance after his daughter, Concretia, and signals an end to the Stone Age. Fred is offered a chance to lead the concrete division, but having already had a rotten taste of the good life, he turns it down in exchange for his old job back and better benefits for the workers. To celebrate, Fred takes his family to Rock Donald's, and they bring him a side of ribs that are way too big. That's right, this movie serves as an origin story of the McRib. And that's the story of the Flintstones. There was something strange about watching a movie that I had very recently and intimately became familiar with. It felt like every time they said something that referenced a card, it was like a wink and a nod directed at me specifically. And I know that saying that the movie referenced the cards is weird, like I'm implying that the cards came first and they were such a success that they made a movie about them. But that's kind of what it felt like after this many days of opening cards and just sitting down to watch the movie. So if you've never dedicated months of your time to the promotional tie-in merchandise of a 30-year-old movie, why don't you try walking a mile in my shoes, huh? Tough guy? You wouldn't last a day. So now I've seen the movie, I have the cards, and I've got a thermos full of rock-hard gum. You'd think that would be the end, right? Wrong. You see, my goal was just to open 72 packs of Flintstones cards, so I'm going to open all 72 of these puppies. But now the vibe is different. I'm not really looking for anything anymore. Sure, I know that I've only seen 3 of the 4 foil cards that should be in this set, But ever since the Double Dino disaster, and knowing that I can't get all 4 foil cards, that pursuit seems pretty pointless. Honestly, this all feels like I'm sitting in a movie theater, just waiting for a post-credits scene that I've convinced myself will be worth my time, but it never really is. Was that the lesson here? Fred Flintstone was a man who worked hard to provide for his family and friends, and he had everything but his mother-in-law's approval. But it wasn't enough, and he wanted more. And one day when he was handed that promotion that he didn't earn, he got the more he was looking for. But the money, the cars, the fancy restaurants, it still wasn't enough. And his pursuit for more left him with less, as his family, his friends, and even his job turned their backs on him. And if it wasn't for one well-aimed catapult shot, he may have never gotten any of it back. Maybe I need to learn from late movie Fred Flintstone and let early movie Fred Flintstone be enough for me before I end up like middle movie Fred Flintstone. After all, I don't have a catapult. I've been looking for these cards to provide me with their meaning, some secret hidden truth I could discover through still images of a 30-year-old movie. And I think that they finally did. I started doing this to give myself a silly little hobby to pass the time. But by the end, all the time I spent on opening these cards, editing clips, posting to and joining various social media, all that time felt wasted. But is time really wasted if the time wasted taught you the value of the original time or something? And so here we are, day 72. Well, that's the end, and my goal of opening 72 packs of cards in 72 days is accomplished. There's only one thing left to do. Here goes nothing. It tastes like gum that's been hanging out with cardboard for 30 years.